The pieces are in place now for a military strike on the cartels in Mexico. The Secretary of Defense has gone so far as to warn the Mexican government this would happen. And yesterday at the Kennedy Center, the president was also asked a question regarding this.
Do you have a red line for the drug cartels that if crossed, it would automatically trigger a military response from the U.S.?
Well, we'll see, but we're not going to put up with it. This country is not going to allow people to come in and dump drugs and kill our youth and other than our youth, too. Older people are very much affected, so we're not going to let that happen.
So the president has made it clear that we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let them come across the border and do those things. And the Secretary of Defense, this is from March 1st, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has reportedly warned Mexican officials that the U.S. military is prepared to take unilateral action against drug cartels if Mexico fails to curb fentanyl trafficking and illegal migration. And they have taken the steps necessary to do that. We've also had a Texas rancher killed by an IED. Now, he was on the Mexican side of the border. This was an IED meant for other drug cartels, but this is a Texas rancher killed by a Mexican cartel IED. Had this happened on American soil, I'm sure you can all see what the president would do. His reaction would be instantaneous. So the pieces are being put in place and have been put in place. War with cartels begins as U.S. Special Forces land in Mexico to train Mexican soldiers. A Mexican Senate commission has approved the entry of members of the U.S. Army's 7th Special Forces Group into the country starting last week. The Americans will come fully armed as part of the mission to train the Mexican Navy's Infanteria de Marina on conventional and non-conventional types of combat. And as we discussed when that story was breaking, U.S. advisors don't just advise from the office building. They're typically at the tip of the spear with the people they train in the actions they take, that those units take part in. So we have Green Beret Special Forces on the ground. We also have RC-135 Rivet joints flying reconnaissance missions off the coast of the Baja Peninsula and the Mexican mainland through the Gulf of California, staying in international waters, but those flights have been ongoing, and there's been more than one. We also have CIA MQ-9 Reaper drones, who are currently covertly flying over Mexico. Now, it's not that covert. The Mexican president knows this is happening. It's part of this little campaign, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said Tuesday in response to the questions about the CIA's drone flights, but did not elaborate. Meaning she's fully aware of that, and the Mexican government is as well. So we have all the reconnaissance and special forces, and on the border we have deployed a Stryker brigade. The troops, primarily from the 4th Infantry Division's 2nd Stryker Brigade at Fort Carson, Colorado, have been deployed to the border. That's more than a defensive force. Clearly, their defensive capabilities are quite capable, but that's also a maneuver force. These are also there. Radars deployed to Mexico border to detect cartel drones. Because in this story, and these troops are from the 10th Mountain Division out of Fort Drum, New York. So we've got federal forces coming down to the border, contributing all their capabilities. And what we have here, and I'm going to be sure to mute this. All right, this is a cartel attack on another cartel using grenade dropped from drones. Sound familiar? This is another. I'm going to go down here real quick. This is a this is clearly This is not exactly just taking pot shots at each other. So that's on the border. U-2 spy flights. U-2 spy planes are flying border security, the Air Force confirms. So we have U-2s, RC-135s, and Reaper drones. And I'm going to also assume, although they're never going to tell us, that we have satellite coverage. So we literally have every single United States military intelligence gathering apparatus on station. We have also had P-8 Poseidons doing work flying through the Gulf of America, tracking cartel shipping. And the thing that really tells me that we're getting ready right here, USS Gravely deploys to U.S. Northern Command Area of Responsibility. And here, USS Gravely will contribute to the U.S. Northern Command's Southern Border Mission as part of the DoD's coordinated effort in response to the President's executive order. We have the Stryker Brigade, Green Berets, Reapers, which of course can be armed, every electronic intelligence gathering method we have. Green Berets, which in and of themselves are an intelligence gathering unit. The Gravely, which is an intelligence gathering unit, which I think more relevant, that the Gravely is also armed with 32 Tomahawk land attack missiles. And targeting of those can be done simply because they've been doing it for decades by Green Berets and other intelligence assets that the United States is utilizing. If we know of the 17 Green Berets, I got a feeling there's more we don't know about. So, the pieces are in place. We're just waiting for the event. Perhaps the president doesn't need an event. Perhaps the president already deems that event to have occurred. We're just going to recap his words because words have meaning.
Do you have a red line for the drug cartels that if crossed, it would automatically trigger a military response from the U.S.?
Well, we'll see, but we're not going to put up with it. This country is not going to allow people to come in and dump drugs and kill our youth and other than our youth, too. Older people are very much affected, so we're not going to let that happen.
Is it possible the order's already been given? That's a very ambiguous answer. But what's not going to be ambiguous is the fact that we have put all the pieces in place publicly. Publicly. Will this be a full-on invasion of Mexico onto Mexico City? No. It'll resemble the 1914 incursion of Pancho Villa, where he was chased all over the Mexican North Country by General Pershing and American cavalry. Unsuccessfully, I might add. But that's what it's more going to resemble. Except modern day. Pinpoint strikes, special forces units, perhaps incursion here or there by regular forces. But most of it will happen with the cooperation of the Mexican military. That said, I do expect there to be kinetic action that takes place on American soil. You saw the cartel drones. I expect that will be the primary means of that. I would actually expect there to be U.S. military casualties on American soil from cartel/enemy action. This is about to get very serious. Very, very serious. This channel's been warning of this now for a long time. I hope we're paying attention. All the signs have been there. If you've been paying attention, all the signs have been there. So when it does happen, it should be no surprise. I wanted to bring that to you because I thought that was a relevant statement by the president. It's very ambiguous, which tells me that things have already kind of been put into motion. So I wanted to get that to you and then show you the pieces in place. I appreciate it. If you liked it, hit the like, share it with a friend. Hopefully you'll subscribe, and I do thank you.